Here we go. We're just going to take a minute just to summarize some of the really cool things that we've talked about that I get excited about as the owner. And going back 31 years running a remodeling construction company here in Rochester consecutively. Having manufacturers actually be attracted to the company to install their products. We talked about in Chapter 1, we talked about Fitch Construction's history, our vision, mission, and values statement, our vision, mission, and values, creating that wow experience, giving our employees the tools and things that they need to have our customers say, wow, what a great company, I really was impressed by this. And then our values, we talked about quality workmanship, teamwork, trust, education, and growth. Not just words, things that we really are serious about. In Chapter 2, we talked about the craft of what we do, committing to becoming a craftsman. Maybe you're already a craftsperson. Maybe you're already an excellent carpenter. That is great. We want you to continue to learn and grow and keep the mind open. And we have a statement that we say, a mind like a parachute is best used when it's open. So if we have a great attitude like, wow, there's so much to learn in life and in my industry, my craft, wow, you can continue to do really great things and teach others, because we're all taught and we all need to teach. We showed you where you fit into our business as a machine. And just that we want to make sure that this machine only works like the engine in your truck or the engine in your car. It only works when all of these gears are moving fluidly. And so you'll see the two biggest gears are sales, design, and production. And you're in the production department, or you're in the service department. So we need all of these gears to be moving and spinning fluidly. Okay? So you know where you fit into the company, how we see you, how important you really are. So we talked also in Chapter 3 about who's the customer and having them have a wow experience with us. So we talked about that too. We learned about who's the customer, and we truly, I believe that where I got my background from, by being a servant, it was not in our nature to serve others. However, I really think that we need to serve others and have that attitude of, even some of the great customers, there are super people to work for. There are people that are very challenging to work for, almost like we. But it's still, we are serving them, and we just have to slow down with some folks and truly understand what they want us to do. Look them in the eye, and just try to understand them so we can better serve them. Communication is the key. So that's who's the customer. And then we talked about being physically and mentally prepared, trying to create a good discipline of getting a good night's rest, and making sure we're groomed correctly, and all those good things are really, really important. Because why? Because we're serving the customer, and we want to let them know that we take care of ourselves, and how we take care of ourselves is how we're going to take care of them. It doesn't take a lot to wash a car every now and then, or to get a haircut every now and then, or if we have a beard, just to make sure that it's groomed correctly. Those are important things when we're dealing with our customers, with giving them a wow experience. Being mentally prepared, being just engaged into, this is what I'm here to do today. Arriving a little bit early so we can get the tools out and get to work and do a super job. So being physically and mentally prepared, we talked about in Chapter 4. Then Chapter 5, we're talking about construction logic, and the discipline takes sometimes many, many years to create discipline. By the way, some doctors or psychologists will tell you that it takes about 27 to 28 days to create a good discipline, to create a good or bad habit. about 26, 27 days. So if we are committing to being a craftsman, the best at installing kitchens and baths, or the best at installing a four-season sunroom or a TimberTech deck, we are just committed. Nothing is going to stop us. That comes out in how we conduct ourselves. So it takes about 26, 27 days to say, I'm going to do this every day until I'm a master at deck layout, or I'm a master at installing AZEK deck boards and exactly how the manufacturer wants it installed. I am going to be completely committed to that. Makes a huge difference, guys, in what we do by committing, making that step to commit and say, this is what the manufacturer says, this is how I'm going to do it. So it comes out in our fabric, in our skin when we make that decision. Construction logic, we also talked about, the next step, always thinking ahead. If we're like, okay, after I get done with this framing, I should be done with that like by 4 o'clock today, 4:30 today, then I'll be starting on the decking. Oh wow, the decking's not here. Let me make a phone call. It's thinking ahead is a huge, huge discipline. Not getting to the point of hey, it's the next day and wow, there's no deck boards here for me to install. What am I going to do? It's communicating, thinking ahead, being on the forefront for the next step. Really, really important. That next step, thinking. Uncle Bob taught me think 2 or 3 steps down the road. If it's a 5-day job, then we're looking for. It's Monday. We're thinking about Wednesday. Like, okay, by Wednesday I should be here, and I'm going to need these things. I'm going to need these things. And let me call the production manager because I'm going to need these things on Wednesday. You have those things coming out to me Wednesday, and making sure you do. So really, really important. So not to sound like a Boy Scout, but a lot of this is basic disciplines that I learned when I was a Boy Scout. Being prepared is a big thing. It goes hand in glove with thinking ahead of just what am I going to need tomorrow to do these things. And if you don't know what tools you're going to need for tomorrow, send a text to the production manager and say, hey, what am I doing tomorrow? Am I framing? Am I putting drywall up? I mean, what am I doing? What task am I doing? And being engaged in that process. So being prepared is very, very important too. Being prepared for weather is a very important thing. Like in your car, you should have some rain pants and a rain suit. You should have some clothes in case it gets a little cooler. You should have maybe a backup. I carry a backup set of clothes in my truck just in case I get rained on and I get wet. All right, I want to be able to go somewhere and change my clothes, and I feel a lot better, and I can go back to what I'm doing. First aid kit. Having a first aid kit either on your work site is important, or in your vehicle, just in case you get cut or something. Those are important things. Being prepared is a huge time saver because we don't know exactly what we're going to encounter. As you're looking over the material list that you get from the production manager, you might want to see a couple extra tarps in case you get rain. You might want a can of bee spray in case you encounter a bee's nest. You might want to have that first aid kit on there just in case something happens on the site and you can get someone or get yourself a Band-Aid or something that would be in the first aid kit. So being prepared, we're all in, right? We're all in for the day's work. We're there for 8 hours, a good 8 hours. We're gonna commit to 8 hours. The customer deserves it, and we're gonna do a super job for them. So being prepared. One of the things that I kind of forgot to mention, really didn't forget, but I wanted to talk about. Every great story that we've ever heard or read or seen has an introduction and an ending. If it's so we start out the day, This goes right in hand with being physically and mentally prepared. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. It's me, Dave. I'm here to work on your house today. Just wanted to say good morning. Wow. This is a real person. It's not like, oh, I'm here to do the deck today. No. We want to say good morning. Hey, good morning. Do you have any questions? I'm here to install the deck today. And smile and look at them in the eye. We want to make this an enjoyable experience for them. We want to make this an enjoyable experience. This is what you love to do. We want to make sure this is enjoyable for you too. So, hey, we're here to serve the customer. We show up, good morning. And just like every story has a great beginning, every story has a great ending. Hey, goodbye, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. I'm done for the day. I've cleaned up and things are all secure for the night. Did you have any questions for me? Anything else I can do for you? Great. All right, well, have a good night. Good night. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. And so we've ended. I really believe, again, to go back to that example of the waiter or waitress in a restaurant, when we are acknowledged, and then when, okay, here's your bill, is there anything else? No? Okay, goodbye. That's a beginning and an ending. And we should conduct ourselves the same way. We are serving the customer, we're taking their order, or we're acknowledging that we're there to do the work today, and then here's your receipt, if you will, here's your bill, or I'm done for the day, I've cleaned up, everything's all secure, did you have any questions? No, thanks, good night. So it's a beginning and ending. Homeowners like that, especially because they know that they can go back to, okay, I can undo my shirt, or I can relax now, or I can, have that martini, or I can spend some time with my children, or whatever it is. They know that everyone's gone from their home at that point. So again, think about your experience as if you were the homeowner. Put yourself in their shoes. We are serving them. So a true servant has the discipline of understanding what the homeowner is experiencing. That's a little rift. That little thing makes a big difference. Little things don't make a little difference. Little things make all the difference. Okay? So that's very important. Uncle Bob would also have this at, when we're saying goodbye, all our tools are put away, the job's secure. That was also the time that we went in one more time, at least 2 times. Oh, geez, I forgot my crescent wrench over there. Or, oh my gosh, I forgot to turn back on the breaker which operates the refrigerator, freezer in the garage. Let me go, oh my gosh, so it's just a little bit of a check, right? It's just a little bit of a check to say, okay, my mind isn't in leaving now. Let me just go check the site one more time just to make sure everything is secure. Oh, let me break the ladder down. That's a big one. Let me get that extension ladder. All the ladders should be broken down at the end of the day and put away. And we're going to go over this in more detail when we're on a job site. But very important piece. Just go back in one more time. So it just is a good way to make sure you have all your tools and everything's secure. And oftentimes, that's when they say the real information comes out. The homeowner might come out and say, oh yeah, geez, Bill, I've got one more thing. I was thinking about replacing this window. Or, I didn't really like the way this miter came out. I wanted to talk to you about that tomorrow, but you're here now, so can we just talk about it now? So by going back in one more time, that's what a good servant would do anyway. So I want to make sure that we go in one more time and just make sure. And it's our way of making sure that in our mind we're now on to the next thing, going home to our family or going home and doing those things for us. So if that's at 4:30, if you're cleaning up at about, you say you got to the job site at 10 minutes of 8, you got your tools out, and boom, you're punching in, you're in at 8 o'clock on time, physically and mentally prepared. And you work your 8 hours, you get to the end of the day, and it happens to be, okay, I'm going to clean up, it's 10 after 4, it's 4:15, I'm going to start cleaning up, making sure that the site looks clean, at least broom clean, things are vacuumed up, then Great, it's 4:30. Sometimes that might be 4:45. Sometimes that might be 5 o'clock. Oh, I got to talk with a customer. Oh my gosh, it's 5 o'clock. It's okay. It's all right, because who's this about? This is about the customer and giving them good service. So at the end of the day, it's got to be cleaned up, and making sure that the customer knows that you're leaving. Sometimes it might be there's no one home. Well, we can still say goodbye in a text. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I'm leaving for the day. That's so big. That's huge. Lots of little things that just acknowledge that I'm leaving for the day is a big thing. Okay, so these are basic things, but they're very big things. So I want you to make sure that you're doing those. So that's what I expect. All right. So the other thing I want to talk about is, a lot of companies have employee handbooks or team member handbooks. I told folks that I wanted a living employee or team member handbook that guys in the field could use to as a resource or whatever, that they could actually turn around and say, well, hey, how does AZEK want, what is that product called again? And so they could put various stuff in their notebook that's important to you. Hey, how exactly do you bend that flashing to do the Z, the interlock, or whatever? Or how do you install that pan flashing? How does Tyvek want you to do when you open up a window? How do they want that exact wrapping to go with the pan at the bottom? All those key things, you can put in this book. I guess that's my point. I want this book to be with you. It might be that this is where you put the work order. Maybe if you're a WOW foreman, a lead carpenter, and our production manager gives you, hey, here's the work order, you might actually put it in this book. It's just a neat way to keep all of those collective thoughts together in one book, and it's your book. So of course, in the employee handbook is the stuff like welcome to Fitch Construction, and it's the way we work, your pay and progress, all the stuff, time away from work and other benefits, stuff that you would see in a typical handbook. But I want this notebook to be part of that, but also, as I said, important points for you too. One of the things, and this will kind of complete chapter 5, is this checklist. You've seen this checklist, and this just has all of the tools and stuff like that that are expected that you need to do the job. So on here, there are things like an entry-level carpenter would have to have their own battery drill, and hopefully charger and additional battery, and their own circular saw. Those are things that are yours. Hand tools, necessary hand tools, and they're all listed here. Things like screws and nails, finished nails, framing nails, stuff like that. Fitch, of course, supplies all those, and they're in our warehouse, in our shop. If need be, years ago I used to have what was called a bucket buddy, and I would have a nail bucket buddy with all my various framing nails and masonry nails and finished nails and what have you, or maybe special white trim nails or whatever, but it would have different trays in the bucket buddy. And then I had a screw bucket buddy that I would keep various screws in. So we can bring that into the shop every other week and just make sure that it's stocked and that it's on your vehicle and that you're prepared, right? So if we went to go get operated on by a doctor and the doctor said, "Geez, could I borrow your scalpel?" I mean, that right? I'm being funny, but we are expected to have our own equipment, our own tools. It's our policy that carpenters of whatever, whether apprentices or journeymen or complete craftspeople, craftsmen, that you have your own hand tools. it's the discipline of being prepared is that when you bought that crescent wrench that you went back in and found, and it cost you 25 bucks, because it cost you something, you take care of it. And that's a big thing to think about. That little discipline that, unfortunately, sometimes when we buy something, we know what it costs. So when you're using equipment that Fitch Construction has, it costs the company money too. So if you see something's wrong with it, or there's a guard that's not working, or the blade's dull, or it's just not working correctly, let the production manager know, or let me know, or let someone in the company know that, hey, that miter box just really isn't working. Thank you for taking the time just to bring that up to your supervisor. But our tools, a good tool is invaluable. A bad tool, or a tool that's not doing what we want it to do, is worthless. So it either needs to be repaired, or you need to let the supervisor know this tool needs to be replaced. It's a piece of junk. And because when we're in someone's home, it saves us time. What does the homeowner actually get from us? What they get from us is what we build for them. And if it's perfect and that miter's crystal super sharp, right, they're going to really appreciate that. So tools, I want you to follow this list, and it's actually 2 pages. But if you have any questions, please talk to hey, there might be a tool that you can't afford. We may have an extra one that you could borrow, or you could have. But if you don't have these tools, how are you going to do the job, right? And there may be some tools on here that you love, that you have to have, that aren't on this list too. So, but this is a list that we followed over 10 years ago, and just expected that you have them. So, just to summarize, this is where we're at. We're at chapter 5. It's thinking ahead. It's a discipline of becoming committed to the craft, not stopping. This is what we're going to be doing. It's thinking ahead. What's the next step? Being prepared. Almost like kind of telling the day, this is how my day is going to go. I've thought about it. I'm physically and mentally prepared. I'm going to install this deck, or I'm going to get this done in the kitchen today. This is my goal, and then I know here's my next step. I'm thinking ahead. But you almost can craft what the day will be if you're prepared, if you're ready to plan it. There's a saying, even a dead fish can float downstream. By telling the day, this is what we're going to do, makes a big difference. And you have a lot more fun. And what we do, we get to build stuff. That's awesome. I mean, I'm really into building decks and stuff like that, and designing them. I get a super charge out of it. Or designing someone's sunroom for them is like, wow, this is going to change their life. So I have that vision of, I'm not just mixing mud. I'm building a cathedral that people will worship at for years to come. That's the craft. And so that's where I want you guys to be too. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in the next chapter.